Coming up today, we have a couple of trip reports, and we got a few news stories we need to talk about. That's next on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to episode 364 of Traveling with the Mouse. I'm your host this week. My name is John, and I am joined, as always, by the man who made that error, Adam Brown.
What's up, everybody?
If you know what I'm talking about.
You won't know now because if you go to the website, it is corrected.
Unless you listen to the episode before a week later almost.
Did I say it wrong, or did I just type it wrong?
I don't think you said it wrong. I think it was just a typo.
Okay.
I just wondered if people noticed that. They probably didn't even watch that part. They probably didn't look at it.
Well, now they know. Thanks for that.
Episode 264. I thought I've already heard that one before.
Yeah.
100 episodes ago.
Back in time. Yeah.
But no, I just had to poke fun at my co-host just because that's the way we do things around here.
Long distance poke.
Yes. Well, I don't know about all that.
I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole.
And I would like to say that we have someone else joining us, but I don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
So when I said a couple of trip reports, I might just be saying we have half of a trip report, I guess, or one person's perspective of the same trip.
Well, I had half a trip without Jason this week, so
half of it. So maybe
we can
just
talk
half of your trip, and then y'all can collaborate the next episode.
Yeah, maybe
We'll stop, collaborate, and listen.
Yeah, there you go. Let's do that.
I mean, there's been a few things that's been going on in the world outside of trips.
Disney?
Although I feel like, we've had a lot of trips packed into episodes here lately. I mean, we did like 3 in a row, and then we did last week's episode. Recorded it in advance on top of that.
Right.
And,
well in advance.
Yeah, so because y'all were going to be on the trip.
Right.
And then...
What was some major news that came out last week?
There's some news that came out. Yeah. And, yeah, we technically had trips to report on this time, which you're going to do a little bit of. So
Yes, I will. A large trip. I mean, this was 14 people at one point.
Oh, that's what you mean. The number of people made it large.
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, for me, it was also 6 days, I guess, of Disney.
That's pretty long for you.
So yeah,
you're usually like a 2 to 3 nighter.
Yeah, right. My wife gets tired of any trip after like 4 days. So
really?
Yeah, pretty much.
See, because I would rather, if I'm going someplace like that, I feel like sometimes if I go for just a couple of nights, that by the time I'm unpacked, I feel like I'm having to pack again. And
yeah, well,
I kind of like the idea of not packing immediately.
Speaking of that, whenever Jason gets on for his part of the trip, he did resort hopping. He did a couple of DVC hops, and then he went to...
There's no way I would do that now.
Yeah. 3 nights at 3 different resorts, yeah.
I mean, I physically could do it, but I think I'm going to say I'm too old in the sense that I feel like I'm wiser than doing something like that at this point. Sorry, I'm not trying to say Jason's dumb or anything, but...
No.
It's just not a task that I would want to take on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it was his first DVC stay, so he wanted to experience a couple of different places because they were kind of last minute too. He couldn't string together multiple nights. I think.
Yeah, they were kind of hard to find more than one night at a time.
Exactly,
that was part of it.
But spoiler alert: the room he had at Riviera was incredible.
It looked it.
It was incredible. Yeah, I got to see that one, and I had been. He went to Bay Lake Tower the other night, and I don't think they've remodeled those rooms since it opened like 12 years ago now, or...
Well, they have had other DVCs to focus on. So.
Yeah. Based on what he described, the rooms haven't really been changed in 12 years, so...
He showed some pictures. Did you not see those?
Yeah, the pictures look the same to me, too.
Oh, okay.
So.
There you go.
So I think it's due for a refurb.
I tell you what, I really liked the view that he had from his room at Riviera when he showed those pictures. I thought that was actually a good view.
Oh my gosh, too. He was one floor above the Primo Privato place, if I said that right. Piata. There it is.
Piata or Priata?
Primo
I think it's Piata. Yeah, I think
Mike Piazza.
Yeah.
Primo Piata. He was a floor above that, and overlooking like the courtyard area, very close to the pool, very close to Bar Riva. He was super close to the elevator. He was like the first room off the elevator, and super close, same level as the lobby. So it's like perfect. It was like the super great location.
All right.
Anyway, that's spoiling
you're
his
talking.
trip.
You're going to say, you're talking about his trip.
Yeah.
When you have plenty to talk about without his trip.
We also have news to talk about that broke.
Yeah.
This week.
So we probably should just do some news
Get
first.
on with it.
Get
on with it.
Probably could get on with it, play a little golf, and never say die. Inside joke there.
I'd love to be a part of one someday.
An inside joke?
Yeah. If James was here, he would have got that one because another office.
Yeah, when he listens back to this, he'll get this.
Yes,
one.
He will.
At least I think he listens to the show when he's not on it. I don't know.
Actually, I don't know. He probably doesn't. He only likes to hear his own voice.
He wants to see what he sounds like.
All right.
But anyway.
Yeah. Dr. Evil.
Something I had saved here. Dr. Evil? What are we doing?
No, I was saying that's one of the
news
stories.
That Dr. Evil. Oh, okay.
Are we going to talk about Dr. Evil getting his contract renewed?
Oh, well, why don't you go ahead and, since you've brought that up, Dr. Evil, as you say, got his contract renewed. I don't know who you're talking about, by the way. I don't know who Dr. Evil could be.
Dr. Evil, Bob Chapek, Dr. Evil, got his contract renewed, and it included a bonus of $20 million.
As incentives, though.
Yeah, right.
Again, this is kind of shoddy information. I haven't really looked it up entirely. Okay. I say shoddy because I don't know this for a fact, but I believe
just know it's true.
Bob got his first extension was like 5 years. Do you recall?
Iger, you mean?
Yes, Iger. I'm sorry. Not Shay. I should have been more specific when I said Bob.
They're both named Bob. Yeah.
Iger, I think his was 5. Of course, we're talking different.
Could have been.
Circumstances, different era, but I think it was 5. And the best I could gather, or what I've heard, Eisner might have been right in the same ballpark. So 3 might be on the low side?
Could be.
So maybe he still does have to prove himself a little bit. I don't know.
Could be. Trying to be optimistic about 3 more years of Dr. Evil. Bob Iger basically handed in the keys as the ship was going down in terms of COVID, right?
Oh, I've said something along those lines. That's what you're talking about.
And so, and also the Fox deal, is probably, they're still probably paying off that or paying back in some way some of the issues from that $73 billion deal. So maybe Chapek deserves a couple of years of being out from under COVID and trying to prove himself. Obviously, he's good at making money for the company, and of course they like that. But I don't know. Can he turn the fans around on him after 3 years? I don't know.
It's going to be tough, but the stock price currently is not exactly great.
Yeah. Right.
But the company itself is making money, so
true that.
It doesn't seem to be nothing that people say or about him or that they have expressed how he runs things, I guess, seems to be keeping anybody from going, for instance, or spending money on Disney. So if that doesn't happen, it's kind of hard to justify ousting him if things are still gonna be going well, truthfully. Right.
There's pent-up demand. Of course, parks attendance is high. But what happens after the 50th? They're obviously catering to the day guests as well. Not catering to, they're forcing. It's because they're not selling annual passes, or did they, for 5 minutes, did they change that? I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still plan on going, but my enthusiasm has waned just because I don't like what I have to do now.
Yeah, lots of
so
things.
yeah. I don't like the fact that I have to make reservations, and it looks like they're going to actually be possibly more of that going on, even though nobody likes it. Apparently, the efficiency that it's giving the company is probably going to outweigh any opinions, because unless it stops people from going, it doesn't matter what people think about it, right? So far, it has not stopped anyone from going. The guest satisfaction, I mean, what you're looking for in guest satisfaction is there going to be repeat business? Well, it appears that, people are going to keep repeating their business no matter what gets done to them. So,
well,
unless that bottoms out, I don't see them changing anything like that, unfortunately. So,
yeah. In my experience going with some folks that either, haven't been in a while or first timers to Disney, they loved, of course, because I took care of all the plans.
Right.
But they loved, this is great. This is great value. This is wonderful. So they're trying to cater to the people who aren't necessarily super Disney fans. They just that are coming because they want to go somewhere. They have kids, and there's demand for it. So,
well, I think you said it. A lot of why the people you were going with had a good time, though, is because you basically did a lot of work.
Right.
Were you able to enjoy it? Is the question.
Yeah. Seeing other people enjoy it was enjoyment for me.
That worked.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
But you got nothing else out of it other than
no. I still got to do things. I mean, I still enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of work.
Nobody paid you to do this, as well.
Right. I mean, I wasn't a VIP tour guide by any means, but it was worth it for sure. Completely worth it.
How did y'all determine? Like obviously you used Genie Plus. I know we're kind of skipping around here.
Yes, we are, but it's fine.
But you used Genie Plus on this trip, so how did y'all determine who paid for what?
So the good news is this can't happen anymore, but in my experience, everybody bought their tickets before they stopped selling the Genie Plus add-on for day tickets. Whatever. So they had all pre-purchased Genie Plus.
Disney Plus. So I did do that. I pre-purchased Disney.
Actually, we did. Yeah, we only have a few more months left on our.
That's true. On our first contract.
Right. But anyway, so they had pre-purchased their tickets with Genie Plus already on it. So all I had to do was buy Genie Plus for me and my family, and then we were all connected. Now, one thing I will say is, and also shout out to Lachelle on the VI pass holder call-in number or whatever. She helped me connect to everybody on the app, because it's not easy to connect to people on the app. Disney really needs to make that better. There is a scan option which does work, but you have to physically be together to do that. And so I had called and gotten connected to everybody, all 14 of us, before the trip, well before the trip, so that I knew I was connected and I could make plans for everybody. So shout out to Lachelle for that. I told her about the podcast too, so hopefully she's listening. But
well, not anyway. This minute. Eventually, she'll hear this episode.
Yes. So that obviously made it easy, because I could make plans for everybody, and we were connected. And she did make the comment, you're connected to 30 people on here. That's a lot of people.
You're talking about overall on your my
overall,
Disney experience?
Yeah, I have 30-something people on my friends and family list.
Are you ever able to get rid of anyone? I guess she could have requested some removed. Is that why she asked?
Right. She was like, "Do you want me to get rid of some of these?" And I was like, "Well, you can," but we never ended up doing it because it took 30 minutes to get connected to everybody.
Wow.
So it did. So that was step one. That I did all that pre-trip to fix it, and also one of our group, I won't say any names in case they're listening, did not make park reservations. Probably didn't know that they needed to.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so Magic Kingdom was already sold out at that point. This was a week before. Once I finally got connected to everybody, I saw that. And so it took me 2-3 hours of refreshing, but I got them in. Magic Kingdom, no worries. Yeah. I mean, again, it's unless you know, why would you think automatically I need to make a park reservation,
So how did we arrive here again? I forgot.
I have no idea.
We started talking about Chapek, and of course, it went to park reservations. So we were talking about in what ways he stinks, and then that got to the yeah.
Moving on. Let's do another.
It's weird how we went from a Chapek rant all the way up to you planning the people's day.
So that's sort of like a pre-trip report part of it. Like this is the building up to it anyway. So this is.
It's almost like. Yeah, it's almost like we're doing, hey, here's a news story, and then, hey, here's a little bit of the trip.
Yeah.
Here's another news story.
Actually, that's a good way to do it. Actually, that might be a good way to do it.
So, I got to be honest, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me that he's been extended. I just roll with it, and we'll do what we can. It is what it is.
You got to live with it, so might as well give him a shot and hope for the best. Hope for the best.
It's one of those things like, how people make that comment about you should be rooting for, hopefully, for the president of the United States to make good decisions, right? Because you're on the same boat, pretty much. So, in a sense that if you're a Disney fan, you should be wanting the CEO to be successful because you're in that fan base, I guess, or whatever. I'm just saying it's along those same lines. So,
yeah, you don't want to wish that he drives the company to the ground because,
right?
Well, obviously.
Right.
But let's hope he makes some better decisions about the parks coming up instead of slashing budgets and raising prices.
Yeah, and a lot of the projects that they probably had on tap for the future have probably been severely altered, more so than we probably already have seen in some cases.
Here's one tip, Bob, if you're listening. Invest in maintenance at Hollywood Studios. How about that?
Do you know what? If you look at the numbers, which I did look at thanks to touring plans, it's not good as far as downtime, obviously.
Thank goodness.
But it's not as bad, believe it or not, as, say, Disneyland and California Adventure by the numbers.
Yeah.
Or even Universal and Islands of Adventure. They're actually just behind.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, one of those parks, it's the most of their attractions are reliable. It's really two attractions that drag the ratio down.
Right.
For instance, at Universal Studios Park, Rip Ride Rocket drags the entire park down as far as downtime goes. Hollywood Studios, the unfortunate thing with it is every attraction there almost experiences significant downtime on a daily basis, it seems. Yeah.
I'll mention, since we're talking about it, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was down for the majority of the day. It didn't open, unless if it did, it barely opened, and I had a lightning lane for it. Turned into a multi, but the ride itself, I think, opened around 5 p.m., maybe 4 or 5 p.m., somewhere in there, for the remainder of the day. And, of course, Rise goes down a couple of times, but it was actually up for the most part.
It had a decent day.
Yeah, it had a couple of downtimes that I noticed earlier in the day, pre-lunchtime. But after that, it seemed to be running fairly smoothly. And then it was Rock and Roller Coaster had gone down for a while.
I mean, I know roller coasters have a lot of maintenance that they need over the regular. I mean, I've just noticed that roller coasters have downtime at some point. But usually it's short-lived before they're operating again. Yeah. But Rock and Roller Coaster in particular here lately just seems like it's down way more often than it used to be.
It is, yeah. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, it's down a lot. Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
What's the most reliable attraction over at Studios? Star Tours? I mean,
probably.
just that the most reliable attraction?
Muppet Vision 3D. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Because
it's the oldest that's still left. That's still, I guess, other than Stunt Show, I guess.
Yeah, Stunt Show's reliable.
Actually, wasn't Stunt Show evacuated the other day because of some reason? I forgot why.
Could have been.
I feel like that was a news story.
I actually saw a story where the Galactic Star Cruiser had to get evacuated. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that too. Someone pulled a fire alarm or something.
Yeah. But anyway, staying in Hollywood Studios, so I just want to mention this right quick. You remember how the mist effect from the AT-AT? You remember it back in the day?
Oh,
well, it's working again.
Yeah, I saw it working. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you did see it working while you were there.
Yeah.
In other words,
it was there. Yeah, it was doing it.
But I'm just saying, it's been a long time since it's worked. Apparently,
you couldn't really get up there to it
right?
Because of it was roped off. Like the old Jedi Training Academy area was roped off.
Yeah, which
But
looks like that's going away, by the way,
or whatever it's called.
Because the sign's been removed.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it was working, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Didn't know that too. Anyway, so yeah.
Still, does it have the sound effects too?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it still did the.
I hope it's. I'm gonna say I hope it's not a water gun sound effect.
No, it sounded like it was shooting at you.
Yeah. All right. So let's move a little bit along. One of the big stories that came about while you were in Disney World.
Yep.
Tiana, her ride, what they're changing Splash Mountain into.
Yep.
The name has been revealed, and the release date, or at least the year, has been announced. It says it's to open in late 2024, which means sometime in 2025.
Right. Christmas or like it'll be like Space 220 where they.
Right. That's what it really means.
Winter 2020.
If they follow their currents the way they've been doing scheduling, that's what it'll be.
Right.
A lot of people made some comments about the name, especially.
You mean taking the mountain out of the name?
Well, there's that, but I mean, there's Tiana's
Adventure.
Bayou Adventure, and I think one of the first things mentioned is, I even made the comment. I was like, all those mountains that I see in the bayou,
Right. Sure.
But then again, it's really more of a hill in the original story, as I mentioned on Splash Mountain. It's not really a mountain either. Yeah, but I mean, it was not. I mean, he didn't in the story. Brer Fox didn't throw Brer Rabbit off an actual mountain into the Briar Patch, so it was more like just a small cliff, I guess. But
right.
So I mean, we don't have to get too literal.
Right. I think it fits in terms of, it's going to be a boat ride and a lot of water in the bayou, and it's only a 50-foot drop, so I'm sure there's a spot you can find.
It's like I'm going on a boat ride, clean down to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly. Is that Davy Crockett reference?
Yes, it was. How'd you know?
You sounded like you were channeling your buddy Ibsen.
I was channeling my inner George Russell.
Yeah. But I like the name, actually, and I like, because I forgot who it was, Craig on the Diz, I think, was talking about, no one's going to call it Tiana's Bayou Adventure. They're going to be like, hey, you want to go ride Tiana's or whatever in the future.
You're going to ride the Princess and the Frog?
Or that, yeah, Prince and the Frog. Because, nobody says Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind or even Cosmic Rewind. They just say Guardians. That's what I called it all week. I was like, hey, I got ready to ride Guardians.
Yeah.
I just like that Tiana's name's in the title. I think that's good. Representation matters, so I'm happy that she's there. And I hope looked like I saw a picture of an animatronic Tiana, so I'm like, are they actually going to add some stuff to the ride that'll make it
perhaps?
Because the ride itself is basically the same, which is going to be good. The ride's great.
Well, I mean, you can't. Yeah, it's definitely not going to change that.
But just changing the scenery and the songs.
That would require spending money they don't have.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But that's great. I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little surprised it's 2024, aren't you? Doesn't that seem far out? Couldn't they do this next year?
I don't know. Maybe it depends on what all they actually plan on doing to the mountain. I mean,
right.
So,
here's the other thing I'm hoping for is a restaurant / some sort of food options that are tied to this. Because I want the beignets and some other,
right,
like mint juleps and stuff. Like I want that as well.
Maybe they could bring a taste of Nolan's over there.
Or would they change like Pecos Bill's into Tiana's place or something? That's the closest restaurant.
I guess they could.
I mean,
Pecos Bill's has been there. It wasn't always Pecos Bill's, so it could be changed. It's been paying those bills for a long time.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. It's a restaurant. It's within, very short walk from it.
In fact, what was it called? Long Mile Bar, even, I think is the way they named it. Or was that just a section over there? I think that's what it was called. The Long Mile Bar, originally.
I'd like it if they...
Even though there was no alcohol still.
Right.
But
I think it'd be cool if they changed it to, like, Tiana's Place or something.
So, I mean, yeah, it's somewhat close enough, I guess. The only downside there, I guess, is it's a little bit too close to Country Bears, too. But, I mean, Disney doesn't care about theming anymore. I mean, doesn't care about the continuity of how things change.
Right.
Just look at Hollywood Studios.
Oh, gosh, tell me that. I mean, Epcot is starting to be that way, too.
Or just look at the fact that how well they hide the backdrop or whatever, or the backside of the of Galaxy's Edge.
Right, I know. Especially when you're going into like the Star Cruiser, you just see these like spires on poles.
Right. I mean, it's not like they're not even trying to make it seem like as though it was real. I mean, that used to be a thing.
Yeah. And when you're driving in from World Drive, you're like, oh, there's the spires from, Galaxy's Edge. But
right. Like take for example, I cannot think of one angle in which you can actually see Expedition Everest in which it looks anything else other than a mountain.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
When you're coming in Western Way, you can see the back of it, and it still looks like a mountain.
Exactly.
Joe Rohde.
There
you go.
That is a good example. I don't know. I feel like for the most part you can't really see Pandora, but maybe you can. Maybe you can see more of it than I think.
You can see parts of the back of Pandora.
Yeah.
But maybe some trees will grow up around, or block that view. But
maybe one day.
You can sort of see some of the back of it where it doesn't quite look right. But
I mean, the Guardians building, I can't even see it at all. I mean,
it just blends into the sky every day.
I don't know. I mean, it's like it's invisible.
Yeah, we quote unquote preferred parked over there. They put us way over there by the Guardians building, which that's far away from the entrance, and called it preferred. I'm not bitter about that at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't even see the building. But I knew it was there somewhere, but couldn't see it, Not like it was some giant monstrosity in my way.
Anyway, but as with the Princess and the Frog, them naming it and them giving us a date, I mean, it would suggest that there's going to be some time here in the near future that they're going to announce the closure of Splash Mountain. Maybe that's part of it there too, is they want to give Splash Mountain maybe a proper send-off, or maybe they need it for capacity at the moment, and they're going to wait until the 50th is over before they start doing anything.
Right. But this tells me it's a bigger overhaul than we're thinking, which is like throw in a few extra animatronics, take out a few old ones, change the songs, and it's done.
Well,
I think this is going to be more extensive than, just
you're
cosmetic.
Going to be here's the thing, though. You're going to be using the existing building. You're going to be doing all the stuff internally. So, I don't know. To me, I don't feel like they're going to be doing as big of a gutting as they even did with the Universe of Energy.
No, nothing like that. But I think that it's going to be more extensive than we think. Otherwise, why would it take them like two years?
Well, it's because of what I said. It's not really going to take 2 years. They're going to have Splash up a lot longer than we think. Splash isn't closed yet. Here we are. We're already July of 2022. I mean, it's already a year and a half away.
Yeah,
almost.
Probably next fall they'll start on this, maybe like 2020, late 2023 or early 2024.
Yeah,
when it usually goes down for a refurb.
Right. I think they're going to give Splash until probably the year is out, and maybe sometime over the winter even they'll probably do it. If I had to guess,
into 2024, you mean early 2024?
No, I'm talking about when they first bring it down. I think they'll bring it down probably this coming winter. I think that's when they'll bring Splash down. I think they're going to keep.
I don't think it'll open for a year and a half. It'll be open.
That wouldn't surprise me. How long has Energy been down now? When was its closing date?
Gosh, I don't know. A long time.
But of course, COVID when it was in between there. But that's beside the point. I mean,
Yeah.
Or, gosh, what was? Let's just give an example of one in which they had to redo the entire building. Yeah. Horizons was being destroyed.
Yeah.
In, what was it, 2000? and Mission Space didn't open for almost 3 years later.
Yeah.
And that was with that was doing a new building, not as near as big a building.
Yeah, that's true.
But still another building.
Hmm.
And I'm sure they already had the concept in the process even before Horizons came down.
How long was it between Great Movie Ride and Runaway Railway opening, too? That was a gutting and redesign.
Great Movie Ride went down in 17 or 18.
It was right when we started this podcast. It's like our second or third episode.
Was it?
Yeah. It was right when it closed.
Okay, so it had to have been in 17. Yeah.
Yeah. And it opened
17,
in 20,
that's what I was thinking.
another 3 year. It was another 3 year, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years, whatever.
Well, and it opened right before COVID. Right. I mean, it opened for like a week, and then it was shut down.
Right,
for
March
COVID.
2020.
Yeah. It's like it ran normal for 1 week, and then it had to have the plexiglass added, and now the plexiglass is gone again. So,
right.
One of your favorite drinks, by the way, I don't know if you had a chance to go. Did you get a chance to go to Oga's?
No.
Well, the Fuzzy Tauntaun is missing now from the menu.
I wonder if people complained about it.
Yeah.
Too many people
I know we talked about it in the previous episode, didn't we? But I don't think it was actually off the menu at that point.
Right. I think we mentioned it last episode that they were going to, and now it's officially off the menu. First of all, Oga's is way overrated, and the drinks are not that great. The mixed drinks. Beers are good there. Everything's way overpriced, though.
I was just about to say, most drinks are, not worth it. Period. Yeah. There's a couple of exceptions, so you really got to be choosy
yeah.
whenever you're doing that. For instance, anything that has the word old-fashioned in it, I mean, you can be good with that.
Right.
For the most part, yeah.
We'll get to this in another episode, but one of the best new places we discovered, this is a teaser for next episode, was Nomad Lounge. This is one we hadn't been to before. And
yeah, I saw you were giving it praise, or at least Jason was giving it. Jason was giving it mega praise in the.
He was, yeah. My wife loved it too. Yeah, it's like this is her new favorite. She's like, we need to go out of our way to get to Nomad Lounge. Yeah, drinks there were really good. But to me, best, even though they're overpriced, La Cava still has the best. Because I like tequila anyway, but I think La Cava's great, and Nomad Lounge is really good too. So,
okay.
Oga's is way overrated though. I don't. That's what I was saying.
I was gonna say you've made getting a table at La Cava your mission every time you've been here.
Yes, because Barbas, man, I gotta give a shout out to Barbas too. He's like the best server as well, and he's like my 4-year-old and him are like buddies. Like he gave him a hug. He was like fist bumping. It was really funny. Speaking
of drinks, do you have any plans to maybe pop back in the Disney area this summer at all?
No, but I saw this. Was this at Doc Lindsay's? Is that what?
Yeah, Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar. They're supposed to have a annual pass holder drink there, exclusive.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's made of. But,
that's cool that they have a pass holder drink. Hopefully, it's an indie related. I need to go there. I know you've been there.
Yeah, I've been there. Go. I mean, I just think it's cool to hang out in a place that's indie themed because the little stuff you can see on the wall that you can. know the references to, or even the jokes they might make out of it in a way sometimes by it. But yeah, it's just
good stuff.
It's fun. I say I only went there one time, and when I did, I got the Professor, I think is what it was called. I really don't remember much about it.
Sounds like what Han Solo said, take the Professor and plug him into the hyperdrive.
Well, I mean, it's obviously
Henry Jones.
Yeah. To
Senior.
Henry, yes.
We named the dog Indiana. Anyway.
So since we're along those lines, this is another good segue. How about a $5,000 drink?
What? Oh, where did I hear about this? What is this?
It's
now?
on the Wish.
Oh,
it's in the Star Wars.
Of course, it's Star Wars
bar or
what?
The Star Wars. What is it called? Hyperspace Lounge. That's what I was trying to think of. What were you about to say?
What is in it that makes it $5,000?
Well, it's not just what's in it.
Snot?
That's just it. Yes.
It's
snot.
It's snot.
It's snot.
Yeah.
That's what costs $5,000. It's organic. It's a $5,000 drink. I mean, obviously it has the smoke and mirrors, right? The Kyber crystal. It doesn't have an actual Kyber crystal in it, by the way, for $5,000. That's what you would think, right, by the price tag. However, what's included in it is it includes a visit to the Skywalker Ranch and a private escort from the ship.
What? They fly you to California after you get off the ship?
It appears to be something along those lines. Yes, that's why it costs $5,000. Because it includes a visit to Skywalker Ranch and a special themed escort off the ship. Escort.
Oh, like stormtroopers take you?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, I guess someone has to actually buy it to find out. So I'm sure it'll be on YouTube at some point because somebody's going to spend this $5,000.
Right. Of course, someone will do it.
Yeah.
What's in it? Ayahuasca or something? And they take you to Skywalker Ranch for a ceremonial
right
ritual.
I have no idea. It says the actual drink served in the Kamtano can scene in The Mandalorian include 1 cocktail and 3 shots.
Which is basically an ice cream maker. That's what the original prop was an ice cream maker.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that.
In one of the movies.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what you get for $5,000 is you get to apparently also go to the Skywalker Ranch if you buy that drink. So.
Okay. No thanks.
At least it makes it seem more to justify the price tag a little more.
Right. I mean, if it's a private jet and you fly in, it's like, okay, I guess
you're probably getting a deal.
Right. It's like, all right, that's cool.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud because...
no, don't say it. You said it.
If I say it's a deal, the price just went up.
Yep, now it's $7,500.
Yeah. Pretty soon it'll be 10. It's like a bidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time you say something, 10. But yes, that's... all right, so is there any way we can transition this back to you and your trip?
Not from a $5,000 drink.
You didn't have a $5,000 drink while you were there?
I feel like I spent $5,000 on drinks, but...
Just not one drink. So you probably spent $5,000 on drinks, just not one drink.
Correct.
The Galactic Star Cruiser had a brief evacuation. Apparently it only lasted a half an hour.
All right.
So it looks like the reason has not been officially disclosed even still, huh? That's interesting. Or at least not that I've seen. Do you see anything?
I haven't seen, but they said it was evacuated. That's got to ruin the theme, doesn't it?
Yeah. Reason for the evacuation has not been given, so. I'm going to say... I have heard, which I don't think, it doesn't look as though there was bad weather, though, but I have heard like a similar situation to the lounge we all got evacuated here not too long ago.
Right.
You did say it was raining at the time, so I have heard, at least on one other occasion, of like a lightning strike causing almost like a false alarm, and they, of course, they evacuate because they have to take each time one of those things goes off as serious, right?
Yeah.
So I have heard of a lightning strike kind of causing those alarms, and they follow suit with the evacuations, so maybe that's what took place in your case.
Yeah.
I haven't seen an official reason, as you say, for that one either.
Yeah.
But I did look it up to see about some times they had something similar happen before, and I remember you guys saying it was raining at the time, so I'm wondering if that didn't happen.
I don't remember hearing any thunder and lightning. It was very light rain, so I don't know. It's possible, but not. I don't remember. I feel like we would have heard a strike or something. I don't remember hearing it.
Just a thought. I think we've covered a decent amount of this stuff. Of course, we'll probably go into this in a little more detail in the upcoming episodes. But the Disney Wish also set sail while you were
correct.
While you were in Walt Disney.
But that was a media
test cruise,
right? A media cruise, right? The actual first one is next week, right?
Right. So it's all over YouTube now as we speak.
Right.
But of course, a couple of things. I got to see things like the Tower Suite. People giving tours of that. It's kind of interesting. A couple of things that I thought was neat just to note was like I said, you can slide into the kids club now, basically the Oceaneers Lab or whatever they call it now. They have a slide entrance, which is pretty cool, like almost like you're doing a real clubhouse type feel. One thing I noticed when I was watching earlier today, I haven't been able to thoroughly finish it, was a walkthrough of the decks, and he went to where you know because you just recently got off one, the basketball area. was outside, right? It had a net around it, but it was outside, right? Close to the Goofy Sports. That was part of the Goofy Sports area.
Correct.
They have a basketball court indoors now on the Wish, which I'm sure makes it a little better for people who did want to play, especially with the wind.
Correct,
Made it a little easier to play.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things like that, those touches that they kind of improved on. And, I couldn't help but think whenever I was watching all this stuff, for instance, the $5,000 drink, the suites that they have on there, and of course the price tags that go along with that. What crossed my mind is I think Disney's probably one of their new lawyers is named Donald Gennaro.
I think this was Gennaro.
Yes, all their choices lately seem to be for the super rich.
Yeah, the Wish certainly does right now, anyway.
So, like I said, we'll explore that in the future. You had a trip, your portion of the trip, to go through.
Well,
or at least some of it.
Right, I was on both portions of this trip.
Right. Yeah, you were, but that's what I'm saying. We don't want to give all of it because Jason needs to have something to talk about too. When he's able to join us.
Yeah, so there's basically 2 trips in one. This is one where we stayed at an Airbnb with some friends who hadn't been in a while, or some hadn't been at all before. Some new friends from who live in Spain, from England originally. This is their first time in America, actually, which was pretty cool. And so we stayed at Airbnb. It was in the Four Corners area. It was okay, but kind of too far. I think we were talking about this pre-show. It's probably about a 30-ish minute drive, mainly because of construction and a lot of road work and different things that were not ideal. So maybe in like 3 or 4 years, this area would be okay again, this Champions Gate area. But it's a nightmare traffic-wise right now, trying to get in and out of there. Gotcha. So it wasn't fun. That part of it, the getting to and from Disney. But the house was nice. Again, it was in a nice area. The neighborhood was still under construction, so that's another thing you see everywhere right now in that area is houses being built by the hundreds, it seems. I said this earlier in the show, didn't I? About everyone had pre-bought the Lightning Lane, the Genie Plus. Did I say that? Was that pre-show?
You did because we covered. No, you did it during the show because we covered it after Bob Chapek.
No, okay, we
did talking about Chapek. Yeah.
Okay, so thankfully everybody had that. All I had to do was buy mine for my family, and the first day I wasn't actually there, but I did plan and pull Lightning Lanes while they were at Animal Kingdom. So this was, we didn't go until the second day of their trip. This was the first day of their, first park day, and they went to Animal Kingdom. So I woke up at 7. I pulled a Navi River Journey for them. The reason why is there are lightning lanes that show up throughout the day.
You mean drop times?
Drops, yes, there are. Disney could change these, so I'm not going to go in depth on this, but there are some.
Dad, and you want to keep them all to yourself. Yeah, I understand.
Well, if you want me to plan the trip for you, I can give them to our travel agent friend, Jill Dilbeck, if you want to have help planning your next Disney trip. You can reach out to her, Jill Dilbeck at gmail.com. It's her email address.
Adam's actually withholding that information. That's part of the $5,000 special.
Yeah, so we'll send it to you in one of those ice cream machines. And we'll mail
a special TWTM podcast ice cream machine.
Exactly. And then they'll have those drop times in there. But by then they'll probably have changed, so that's all I'm saying. But Navi is not one that I've noticed come up during the day, so I got them that one to start with. We were going to attempt to buy, so here's a disadvantage, of course, staying off property. You can't buy the individual lightning lanes until park open. So we had some tough times trying to get the individual ones, especially Flight of Passage. It was available. We could have bought it, but it was way later than they wanted to stay at Animal Kingdom. So I think it was already at 5:36 p.m. at that point, and they didn't want to stay that late.
How often did you check, just out of curiosity? Because I've heard stories about after open, say somewhere around the 15 to 20 minute mark that some seemed to drop.
I looked, didn't see any. I was dropping my son off at summer camp thing, and so I wasn't able to check because I was driving from there when Animal Kingdom opened. But I was in contact with somebody, one of the group, and he was kind of the head planner or leader that day of the group, right? Exactly. And so he was telling me, well, let's wait and try and see if we can get it at a drop later. The drop came and went, didn't drop for me. Interestingly enough, it did drop for them in the park, but they weren't able to secure it because they thought I was getting it. Didn't show up for me, never showed up for me.
Miscommunication.
Right, exactly. So we didn't have a backup plan. That was lesson learned, number one. We needed a backup plan. But I was able to get them a Kilimanjaro safari that they could use immediately after that. So we didn't get flight of passes, but they did get to go do Kilimanjaro. And then as soon as they all tapped into Kilimanjaro, a dinosaur was available at the same time.
Wow, that's impressive.
Available.
A dinosaur. Oh.
Right. So I got them a dinosaur. And they immediately went and enjoyed that dinosaur.
I would be impressed with that even if I wasn't from
So I pulled a dinosaur for him.
You snagged a dinosaur.
Exactly. So by noon, they had done... They arrived around 9:30 in the morning, by the way, so it was way after park open. And by noon, they had done 3 rides in about 3 hours-ish. So all with Lightning Lane. And that's a lot for a group. I think they had 10 that day, 10. Group of 10. I think somebody had lost their ticket at one point, too, and they had to go back. And, things happen when you have a group of 10 or more, as we'll learn.
Yeah, I would not want to do that.
Yeah.
I do not envy this task that you took on. I mean, But
it was fun. It actually worked out incredibly well, and I was surprised by that. It worked out way better than I expected. It was still a lot of work, but it was way better. They ate lunch at Yak and Yeti. I was able to get a collie that they could use right away. So collie, again, these are like hour and a half waits that they were skipping for most of them at that point in time. They did collie, and then flight of passage line kept going down. It was under an hour by the time 2 o'clock rolled around, and so they went ahead and went back over and got in the standby and only waited 35 minutes for flight of passage at around 3 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was surprised. I thought it would be closer to an hour. Ended up being 35 minutes.
Maybe 3 p.m. is a time to go check it out, maybe.
Yeah. I think mid-afternoon is it kind of has a lull, and then it kind of peaks a little bit more because towards the end of the day, the people who didn't do it early try to jump back in before the park closes.
Right.
To get back in. So middle of the day after lunch tends to drop a little bit, it seems.
Well, I think Animal Kingdom in general, afternoon, it kind of starts, the crowds are kind of already left because they've done everything at that point, most of people.
As far as rides go, it's definitely a half-day park. But.
Yeah.
And after that, they did Tough to Be a Bug.
I'm sorry. Well, of course, they wouldn't know that, only half of the effects are working in that show right now.
Right,
at least it was few weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I didn't hear much about Tough to Be a Bug. Everybody was talking about Flight of Passage. Nobody talked about anything else.
You mean they didn't even mention it's tough to be a bug? No.
No. All I heard was that they were doing that. And so at that point, while they were in there, an Everest came up that they could use right away, but nobody wanted to do it. Everybody was too tired. Also, Everest was down most of the day at that point. It was down all morning, and it opened maybe 2 p.m.-ish or 1 or 2.
It's no excuse to miss one of the best experiences in all of Walt Disney World.
Yeah, the second best coaster at Disney.
The first best coaster.
Second best. So, actually, maybe even the third behind Slinky Dog.
Hey. Non-IP original.
Just wait. Let's find until they find something that fits it. Chapek will put a IP in there, now that you mentioned it.
I really hope not. If he does, then I will personally head up his firing.
Oh, okay.
I will make it my mission.
Just wait for it then. Whenever they get around to doing something in Animal Kingdom. So that was the end of day one. Everyone, of course, loved Flight of Passage. It was the best to them. I think overall it was either the number 1 or number 2 ride that everyone talked about. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 lightning lanes for them that day. They used 4 of them. They arrived at 9, left at 4. So not a huge long day. They got to do all the good stuff except for Everest, which I think if it had been up, they would have done it earlier. But it was down when they were over there, when they were doing Kali. If it was up, they probably would have done it then, but it was not operating. And we run into that with, especially at Hollywood Studios, a lot of rides went down.
Yeah, Hollywood Studios, like, I don't know. It should be one of the funnest parks, but due to downtime and crowds and stuff, it's like not. I don't know.
Yeah. So day 2, and Magic Kingdom. I'm just gonna breeze through this. Magic Kingdom. Originally, we were gonna go rope drop it when you could, which was after the resort guests. So we were originally gonna try rope drop it and go to the Frontierland side, or Adventureland, Frontierland side. But as we were driving down there, we didn't get there until like midnight that night, and so we got a call. I had warned them out at Animal Kingdom. So if you think about the journey they did at Animal Kingdom, they zigzagged the park a little bit to do these lightning lanes. So Animal Kingdom is gigantic, of course. So they were tired.
Well, the part you actually have to walk isn't. When you're going back and forth, if any park, even if I went back and forth, if I went from Tower of Terror to, say, Millennium Falcon a couple of times, yeah, sure, I would.
Sure, but Magic Kingdom, you can zigzag all day there, and it's not that bad.
If you say so.
Yeah, it's not like Animal Kingdom is anyway, or Epcot or any of the other parks. But anyway, point is, they were tired, so we're like, okay, let's change the plans, and we'll do a stacking day. We'll show up around lunchtime or a little after, and we'll just take the whole morning off. We'll rest. I'll start stacking lightning lanes, and then we'll go from there. I got a Jungle Cruise first. I got it for like 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. That was because, for one, it booked up that quickly, and when you're booking for 14 people and you're getting a popular ride like that, it goes quickly. Here's another thing I learned: when you're trying to do the like My Genie Plus day for 14, you can't. You can only do 12. It tells you that it's like you have too many people on here, and they say you can call this number for larger groups. I never did that, so I just skipped doing the Genie day for that day.
It can't handle that.
It just, it's like, this is too many people, yeah. They say we recommend 12 or less.
It was like everything they would recommend would be Swiss Family Treehouse.
Right, exactly. But I will say, when I had less than, so the next 2 days, we had a couple of people had to leave early because they tested positive for COVID, so one family had to leave. And so at the last 2 days of the trip, I was able to use the My Genie Day, and I actually like that for a couple of reasons. One, you pre-select your group for lightning lane selections, so you don't have to select them every time. Also,
an improvement.
Kind of, although I'll get into that later. When you have 11 people, you can't really book anything. So I had to split them into 2 groups and try to book them in overlap lightning lanes. That was fun. But individual lightning lanes, you can only buy 10 at a time for the individual rides. So like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, I had to buy 10 and then buy another 4 on top of that. So I had to buy it for 10 of them.
How much was it that day?
Gosh, well, it was like $160. It was $10. I think it was $10 or $11. I think it was 10 for
10
Mine Train
per person.
Per person, yeah.
I guess when you break it down, that doesn't sound as bad when you put that one price tag on it, considering how many people, but it still was $10 per person, so I don't know.
Right. So I had to buy that, so I bought that at Park Open, which by then it was the only thing available was like 6:30 or 6:45 or 50, something like that, was the earliest I could get. So I was like, okay, this is good. We're stacking anyway, so we'll just do that one later in the evening. So I had the Jungle Cruise from like 3:30 to 4:30, Mine Train, and then I pulled a Haunted Mansion because that's one that they wanted. Everyone had said. So the first one we did was Haunted Mansion. I was able to get Big Thunder at a specific time that came up. That was my first test of having to divide into 2 groups of 7 and lock it in, but it worked. So I was able to lock that in. The good thing about this compared to FastPass Plus was you know, when FastPass made a drop, you had to book it immediately. Like, as soon as it came up, if you didn't grab it, it was gone. Well, in my experience here with a Lightning Lane drop, you had at least a minute because they would release them for the whole hour. So say it dropped at 1:30 to 2:30, it would, you know, you'd grab, it would be 1:30, you'd look at it again, it would be available for 1:45, you know, like 1:50, 2 p.m., 2:10, 2:15, 2:20, you know, 2:30, all the way up, and then it would go back to like 7 p.m. or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like a full minute of time, which gave me enough time to grab a group of 7, book it, go back into the tip board, pull the ride up again, pull the same thing up, and the times would overlap by 15, 20 minutes, and I was able to get the second group of 7 before it, you know, disappeared. So that would have never happened on the FastPass Plus. So that's a slight improvement when those happen. So I was able to get a Big Thunder. We used that right away, so we get those. After that, we watched the parade. We got Dole Whips. So we watched the parade from Frontierland area. As soon as the parade was over, we went to Pirates, and Pirates was virtually a walk-on. So that was a good timing there. Didn't have to do a Lightning Lane. Then we used our Jungle Cruise Lightning Lane. And then I pulled a Splash Mountain for the same time once we tapped into Jungle Cruise. And so we went over and did Splash after that. And then sort of came the zigzags. I was able to get a Lightning Lane for Buzz. So after Splash, we all went over and did Buzz. Then we came back and did Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And then I was able to get a Little Mermaid and a Barnstormer. And I think I got a Dumbo, but nobody wanted to do Dumbo. So everybody was tired at that point. And so we went over to Trader Sam's. We took the monorail to Trader Sam's, did the Tiki Terrace, had like a dinner there. Then we went back to Magic Kingdom to watch Enchantment. We got there like right as it was about to start. And then we're going to try to do Space Mountain after Enchantment. By the way, Enchantment, everyone agreed at the end of the next day that Harmonious was better.
Okay. So, at the end of the next day. But, I mean, what were their thoughts of Enchantment as it itself?
They thought it was good. They enjoyed it. They didn't like the fact that you were packed in with everybody because we showed up like 5 minutes before it started. And so we were at the end of Main Street, piled in with a bunch of people.
Right.
So it was kind of claustrophobic.
You got to see the Main Street projections this time, then.
Yes, we did. And they weren't as impressive as I thought. I mean, they were okay, but it's nothing like what's on the castle.
Gotcha.
But anyway, after that, we took the back way. They had opened the back exit from, you know, behind Main Street towards Tomorrowland. We got on People Mover. I may have to talk about this in another episode because I'm way out of time, but we had an interesting confrontation with a cast member at People Mover who cut us out of the line.
Ooh, teaser. So I'm just going to cut you off there. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, exactly. So she cut us off the line and tried to reroute us, and it was like, why wouldn't you just let us in? Because everybody, anyway. And her response was, report me.
Is that really how she said it?
Yes, that was her response. Report me.
Wow.
And so he did. Our friend who was a former cast member 30 years ago reported her to her lead, and so who knows what happened, but yeah. Wildly inappropriate response.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, I get that they're under high stress and everything.
Yeah.
She may have just had one of those moments where she really dealt with somebody who was really difficult not long before, and it doesn't justify her actions. Yeah. But just that kind of response just shouldn't come out of nowhere.
Correct.
I mean, yeah.
But anyway, so everybody was kind of annoyed anyway that we came all the way back, and fireworks were crowded, and it was good, but it was, like, okay, end of a very long day.
And this would be your last day without Jason, or no?
No, there was
Didn't Jason come the next day?
He came the last day, but we never actually saw him that day either with the big group. Like, we sort of, that was our post-trip with this big group was hanging out with Jason.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you still got a little bit more.
Right. So we did People Mover. Nobody wanted to wait in line for Space Mountain. because it was probably a 40-minute wait towards our 10 p.m. So we're just like, no, forget it. Everybody was done at that point, so we left.
You just mentioned People Mover, so I got to ask: while you were there, did it have the new spiel, or was that after? Because I've seen that's a story we didn't touch on. Actually, is the new spiel that includes them mentioning Tron.
I don't remember hearing it.
Really? Yeah. It actually has a feel of the old computer or whatever type spiel, and it does mention some of the old things on it.
I heard the other day that the Stitch thing accidentally came up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
During this,
I guess as they were trying to roll it out, they may have accidentally opened the Stitch.
That's funny.
Someone posted that on like TikTok or something, or Reddit or somewhere. I forgot where I saw it.
You should go check it out. I mean, and see, and then you can go back and look at a really old video, I guess, of back with the way the People Mover used to be. You can hear that spiel, but I mean, you can kind of see that there is a similarity, I guess, in the style of how they did this new one. So it's almost like they're doing a throwback in a way to how they're doing this one. So
so we did 7 lightning lanes that day, 1 individual lightning lane, so 8 total. And then we waited in line for 2 rides in the standby. So all in all, everybody was like really happy with skipping.
With how that went, of course.
Lots of lines, didn't have to. They were like, this is worth every penny, they were saying that.
Magic Kingdom, can save you the most amount of time in line with Genie Plus.
And
it's the only for sure one that you're going to.
Yeah. But the next day, Epcot actually was the smoothest. It was actually the easiest to get the lightning lanes for, to me. And of course, we didn't buy Guardians. We did a boarding group. So my wife, with her quick fingers, pulled the boarding group for Guardians.
What number did she get this time?
I think it was 38 or something like that. It was like 30 something.
So not 7 while you're still in Atlanta.
Right. Right. It wasn't. Yeah, it was. So, right. The internet at that house wasn't as fast. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I actually mentioned there's like this Disney Genie group that I pay attention to. Mm-hmm. I actually mentioned on one of the posts because they were asking about if their boarding group got called while they were still at breakfast, was it a problem? And I just happened to mention in there. I was like, well, I personally know somebody who was like 6 hours late to their boarding group, and it was no problem.
Yep. And we were late to this one too, because we showed up at Epcot around 1 p.m. or maybe 12:30ish, 12:45. Our group had been called at like 11:30 in the morning, and so it said get there by 12:30 or something like that. And it was 12:30 by the time we walked in Epcot. Here's another interesting thing that happened is there was somebody in our group who the night before was like, no, I'll get motion sick on Guardians. I don't want to do it. Because I was kind of explaining to him like what it was like. The next morning, after I'd already pulled the boarding group, excluding the people who said they didn't want to do it, because I thought it'd be easier to pull if it was less people, it was like 4 or 5 that didn't want to do it. So I did that, and then the next morning, of course, after that, he was like, I kind of want to ride Guardians now. So I was like, okay, I already pulled it without you. But once we got there, I went to guest experience, told them what happened. Actually, that was when the other people had to leave and left. And so I was like, hey, this person left who's on this boarding group, and I want to, can you take this person off and add this person instead? And so they were trying to, the app, the iPad they were using was messing up. So he literally just gave a boarding group to my friend, our friend who wanted to ride it, who said he didn't but changed his mind.
Oh, okay.
And so literally it showed up on the app as a group of 1 on top of the other group that I had of like 9, I think it was.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
but it was the same time essentially?
Yeah. And basically I was like, hey, do we have any specific time we need to be back? Because I told him we have a lightning lane for a test track that we need to use. And he was like, don't worry about it. He said, just show up. He said, just do that next is what he told me. But I was like, is there a specific time we need to be back? He said, no, there's not a time. So it doesn't matter. And even Jason and I over the weekend did it. We pulled a group and we showed up super late, and they let us in. Mm-hmm. It still turned blue, but they let us in.
Right.
So anyway, we did Test Track. Everyone liked Test Track. We did Guardians. Everyone loved Guardians. Guardians was like probably number 1 or 2 for most people that did it. So Guardians and Flight of Passage were kind of the two that most people talked about for
it's understandable.
the whole trip. Yeah. Then I stacked a Soarin' after I pulled. Test Track was my first one in the morning. Soarin' was the one I stacked after that. We ate lunch at Sunshine Seasons. I waited to get a drop for Remy's. Remy's showed up. Had to do some trickery, the half and half. I couldn't book 9. I tried to see if it would let me do 9, but it showed, as soon as it tried to book, it showed not available. But I cut the group down to 7 or 6, I think it was, and it booked right away.
Of course.
The good thing about it is if you pre-select that group, well, not pre-select, but if you select and then you go back to book it again, it just automatically selects the ones that haven't been booked for it. So you don't have to remember.
Right, you don't have to go back and do it again.
Right. Yeah, it just shows up like these people aren't on it, so these 3 are eligible or whatever it was, and so I just did it again. And the times overlapped. So we made it to Remy's. Remy's had been down at that point, so the Lightning Lane return was super long, but it still was fairly quick. We did Remy's. Everyone liked it, but again, it was, it was like, this is a good ride. It's really cool, but it wasn't like a blow you away kind of thing. And then the next drop was Frozen, so I was able to pull Frozen, got that pretty easily. Walked over the long walk over to Norway, did Frozen. After Frozen, we did La Cava, of course. We had to do La Cava. So one of our people actually knew, is actually friends with the owner of one of the tequila brands, the one that's the Dragones. I think I'm saying that right.
I thought for a minute there you're like the owner of La Cava or something.
No, one of the tequila brands, the Dragones top shelf one, that's in that margarita or whatever. So we had to buy that one and send him pictures or whatever of it. And he was saying Disney's one of his biggest customers. And we actually found out that Nomad Lounge had the same, so different bars or lounges have that same tequila, which is pretty cool. Grand Fiesta Tour after that, and then we sort of hung out.
It's only natural.
Yes. Hung out at World Showcase and then watched Harmonious. We had a really good spot for it. It wasn't crowded. Well, I wouldn't say a great spot. We were between Japan and Morocco.
That's pretty good.
It was decent, partially obstructed, but not bad. Everyone loved Harmonious. Harmonious, like some people were crying, and it was just like this emotional. Yeah, it was good. It was emotional, like teared up. I wouldn't say like bawling, but teared up. It was really good, and everyone was like, Harmonious is better. Everyone, because
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. For one, it's easier to get a spot to see it, like up close, versus you may not have the clearest view of all the barges or whatever, but you can still get closer. It's not as crowded. You can find places that aren't as crowded because you have a humongous lagoon to find a spot. Yeah, the music is better by far to me for Harmonious.
As I've said before, I've always preferred the Epcot nighttime show anyway.
Yep.
And this didn't change anything. That's just
correct.
Me.
Yeah, I agree.
The Illuminations, even as long as it lasted, I still preferred it over any of the others.
Yep.
So it's just me.
Yep. So moving on to Hollywood Studios, everyone kind of liked the groove that we had. Where Magic Kingdom, Epcot, we did the late arrival, stacked some lightning lanes, and then finished out the day there. So we decided Hollywood would do the same. Originally, I was thinking we might need to start earlier because it's a slog at the middle of the afternoon. But we started stacking. I went with Smuggler's Run as our first one, and I actually had to wait quite a while to get an afternoon time. I had to wait like an hour to get a 12:30 to 1:30 Smuggler's Run.
Wow.
Everything was in the morning because Slinky Dog is what people get. Mm-hmm. The biggest anxiety around that day was getting a Rise of the Resistance because we had to wait till park open, and we had to wait till 8:30 a.m. and by then it was already after 7 p.m. Park closed at 9, so it was like 7:30-ish by the time 8:30 rolled around.
Did you wait and check, or did you just go ahead and grab the...
We were looking the whole time, and so again, we have 11 people. I can only buy it for 10, but... Thankfully, Jason had put us on his Riviera, my wife and I, so that we could go to the pool that day. the next day, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So he put us on his. So I was able to buy ours at like $8.25 for me and my wife, and then I bought the other 9, so I didn't have to try and buy it twice because it was going to be gone within seconds, right? So thankfully that worked out. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been able to get it for 11 people. I would have only been able to get 10. So we had like an overlapping where we could both get in line at 7:50 p.m. That was how close it was. Like it was like the end of the day. So we're like, okay, we'll end with Rise. It'll be a big grand finale of the trip. Rise didn't actually end up being our last ride, believe it or not. But we stacked Millennium Falcon. That was our first one. We got there at 12:30. We went straight to Smuggler's Run and did that. Everyone liked it. One person did get motion sick on Smuggler's Run, which I thought was interesting because I wouldn't have expected that, but I guess you could. I mean, if you're prone to it, you could.
No motion simulator.
Yeah. So after that, we went to Baseline, hung out at Baseline.
Well, that should help with the sickness.
Yes, it helped. Not really. Then we did Muppet Vision 3D while I was waiting for our Slinky Dog, which I pulled. Slinky Dog was the toughest one to lock in because I had to pull into 2 groups. It overlapped, but I was able to get all 11 of us in to Slinky Dog somewhere around 2 p.m.
Slinky was even tough to get on the free Fast Pass system, it seems like. I mean,
yeah,
it was hard to get it to drop.
Yeah, when it did, you had to be really quick or else it was gone. Like Slinky was Slinky, it's still, like I said, it was not the easiest. It was the hardest one, but it's still, like I was able to book it twice, essentially, for 2 different groups within a minute. So it wasn't bad. And the time still overlapped. And so we were able to go all ride it together. So after Muppet Vision was basically to kill some time before Slinky. So after Muppets, we went over and did Slinky. I had stacked a Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but that ride was down all day, which I think I mentioned earlier. It was down. So it turned into a multi-use, and by the time we had finished Slinky, we were going to use the multi for Toy Story Mania, but Toy Story Mania was down. And so, like, well, everybody wanted to do Rockin' and Tower of Terror. We could not use the multi-use for Tower of Terror. That one was excluded for whatever reason. I don't know. Because both elevators are working now, so I don't understand why they wouldn't let us use a multi for Tower of Terror. That kind of annoyed me. Because what happened was, we went to Rock and Roller Coaster, and everybody was using their multi-use for Rock and Roller Coaster. So I think we waited somewhere around 30 minutes for Rock and Roller Coaster in a lightning lane.
Wow.
Because it was backed up all the way to the gift shop, essentially. But we did Rock and Roller Coaster. Everybody loved that one as well. And then some did Tower of Terror after that because it was raining. Pretty nasty thunderstorm. So everyone was like, well, let's do it while, people had sort of left the area to seek shelter. So they waited probably only about 30 minutes for Tower. So
everybody's trying to get out of the lightning. Hey, let's risk it.
Yeah, let's risk it with this ride that looks like it got struck by lightning, which is the whole point of the ride. Anyway,
that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Like if you're at the top
and you get struck by lightning as it goes down. That would be freaky. So they only waited about 30 minutes for Tower. That was the first, other than Muppet Vision, standby that we did all day. Then we waited. We did ABC Commissary for dinner, like a 5 p.m. dinner. And then we did Star Tours after that. Toy Story Mania, both with lightning lanes. I was able to pull both of those back to back. And then by then, Runaway Railway was open. So we're like, do we try to work that in before our Rise? But we didn't want to miss like getting in exactly at 7:50 for Rise in case it went down or something. So what we did instead was we just walked out, did the Skyliner to Caribbean Beach and back. And that killed about 20 minutes. And then we got back and did Rise right at 7:50. Rise, of course, everyone loved. It was great. I still think people preferred Guardians or Flight of Passage over Rise, but Rise was still like, I think, again, most people, it's the Stormtrooper room, when you first get captured, and That's what they talked about, was that part more than anything.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of effects there that are pretty cool, but then when you get to the ride itself, there's a few effects in there that still are pretty cool, but just that they've already, I guess they've been seen so much that they've kind of already lost their luster. It's weird. Yeah. Like the whole lightsaber coming through the ceiling was really cool when you first see it, and now all of a sudden people are just like, "Oh, I've seen it."
Yeah.
I mean, it shouldn't be that way, truthfully.
Right. It's a cool effect, but it's not as impactful as it was.
Yeah, it's almost like we've gotten ho-hum about. I was like, do you guys remember when this first happened, how cool it looks? Yeah. So, you know what I mean? I was like, are we already that, we're easily that bored now?
Right.
Anyway.
And also, the room with the AT-ATs is impressive, but I feel like you don't spend enough time in there to really appreciate the scale of it. It's one that's, you can walk slowly through the, where the stormtroopers are and all that and appreciate, like, the size of it. But you're in that room for, like, 20 seconds, and it's like, you don't appreciate, you can't stop and look at the scale of it because you're moving so much. And I don't know. That room is my favorite room on the ride itself, but anyway. Again,
I would agree with you, though. It's the most impressive overall room because you feel like you're there when you're in that room.
Yeah, it's a fun experience. I've done rides enough now where I'm like, I'm not going to pay $15 to ride this ride anymore, and I'm not waiting 2 hours in line. But by the end of the day, when we did it at $7.50, the line was at an hour. It was under an hour.
It was
posted.
Probably less than that, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was probably, like 45 minutes at that point. So
if you, let's just say for some attraction like Rise, if you want to do it, just, go at, what was the park close? 9?
9, yeah. Just
go at 8:55.
Exactly.
It's like if you're in line, you're going to be able to ride, unless, of course, it goes down. But
right, which is a good possibility. But that's why we were like, that's why I was very like, okay, let's not wait. Let's get in line as second we can get in line so that we don't, in case it goes down. But actually, everything ran smoothly. No issues there. But after that, it was 8:30, and so we're like, well, we can still ride Runaway Railway. Let's get in line. So we got in line for Runaway Railway. We got out at exactly 9. Well, it was like a few minutes after 9. So it was probably a 25-minute wait or so, something like that. They were doing that movie magic show or whatever it's called, where they do the projections on the... So we walked out in the middle of that, but then they had some fireworks and stuff going off. So that was kind of our grand finale, was Runaway Railway. But even still, like, it took all day, well, from like 12:30 p.m. till 9. But we got Smuggler's Run, Slinky, Rock and Roller Coaster, Star Tours, Toy Story Mania, and Rise. 6 rides with lightning lanes at Hollywood Studios. That's a pretty impressive to me.
It's interesting. Since you just brought it up a second ago, I'm actually questioning. Runaway Railway might actually have more re-rideability than... Does it honestly have more re-rideability than Rise? I mean,
well, you have 4 cars that are slightly
and all kind of stuff to
all
kind of stuff to look for, right?
Yeah, Rise only has 2 options, 2 different cars.
But it's massive. I mean, it's on a massive scale.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most of Rise of the Resistance there's not as much detail as Runaway Railway to look at.
I guess it's kind of like what we were just talking about a minute ago. Once you get past the initial shock and awe of what it is you're seeing, I mean, what's left?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So
one of my favorite details in Runaway Railway is the Daisy when you're in her dance studio and her little bottle of water says pond water on it.
Oh, wow.
I just find that hilarious. It's just, that little detail is really funny to me. I do think, Runaway Railway could probably change because a lot of it is projection based. So you could change the whole room to a different theme, pretty easily, versus Rise is, you can't really change as much over time. But anyway. So, lesson of the day is trip of anywhere from 10 to 14 people can be done, and you can do it with a lot of lightning lanes if you know the tricks of the trade here. And I was surprised at how well it actually went. I was expecting to wait in a lot more standby lines, but it actually turned out pretty good.
After this last time, I'm honestly thinking, I know I said it at the end of my trip report, but I think the funnest way for me personally to do it, if you budget for spending the money, is to stack lightning lanes. That's the most fun way to do the park.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you're saying go later in the day, pretty much.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying, is what you're ultimately saying.
Yeah, if you're coming with a group like this, it works so much better as stacking some and showing up at like lunchtime, even though that's like the hottest part of the day. So that was a little tough because it's, trying to get around, and then of course thunderstorms here and there you have to deal with in the summer, but it worked out so much better.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that on average you're really going to need it for, say, Animal Kingdom, because really the longest line you're going to have that's going to be worth it anyway is going to be Flight of Passage. So that's going to be, right. Do you really want to buy the individual lightning lane or not, or you just maybe rope drop it if you want to do it so badly, or end of the day once again.
Right. Yep.
Everything else you can probably weather for definitely less than an hour.
Yeah.
The only other one that might be in danger of being over an hour would be Navi, and let's just be honest, if it's an hour, it's not worth doing.
No. 30 minutes is not worth doing for Navi to me, but not that I like Navi or Journey. It's not worth it. If you
right, you got to weigh it out.
Yeah.
If you look at Navi and it says 45, would you consider it?
No. Not unless I was with some people who've never done it, and I couldn't pull a lightning lane for it.
25.
25 is doable. Yeah, I guess I would do it.
All right, anyway.
So, yeah.
All right.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we pretty much should wrap this one up. It's kind of like it's an extended episode, we'll say, not really a mega episode.
Yeah, I can cut it.
We have an extended episode this week. More to come because we've only gotten one perspective on this trip, and only part of it, actually. You have some time that you spent with Jason, a couple more days, that we're going to cover hopefully next week's episode.
Yep.
You have a non-Disney trip coming up, as do I. I don't know if we're going to cover any of that or not, depending on what goes on, but we might touch on it in the future because, again, this is a podcast about travel, but mostly Disney. So we have had other trips.
We have, but no one listens to them.
No one listens to them?
Yeah.
Well, you're just looking at stats or something?
I did, yeah.
Anyway, so if you want to go find those episodes or anything like that, of course, you can always follow us on social media. There's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That is at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store in which you can buy our exclusive TWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcast. And we also have a YouTube channel that I would appreciate it if you would go check it out and subscribe. Hopefully to have some more footage on there very shortly. I have been working on it, but I've been running into a couple of issues. Where else can they find us, Adam?
On our website, travelingwiththemouse.com, and you can email us podcast@travelingwiththemouse.com. And as I mentioned earlier, if you'd like some assistance planning your next Disney trip, you can use our travel agent friend. Her name is Jill Dilbeck, and her email address is jilldilbeck@gmail.com. All that information is also on our website.
Okay. All right, so for Adam, my name is John. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and we hope you will join us on our next trip. Our next acid trip.
Ayahuasca.
Acid. Oh. That's right. Acid. Isn't that what Flick said?